You're listening to an Anderson Entertainment production.
This episode,
the numbers have stabilised in FAB Facts.
It's our very first appearance from Brian Blessed on the Randomiser.
and we're recapping the first ever virtual Space 1999 convention.
Ooh, that's all coming up in Pod 178
of the Gerry Anderson podcast.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's get started. Let's go.
Spectrum is green.
The Gerry Anderson Podcast with Jamie Anderson and Richard James.
Pod 178 of the Gerry Anderson Podcast with me, Richard N. James, and him, I'm Jamie Anderson.
Yes. Hello. Thank you for that lovely intro.
Thought I'd dive in.
We did dive straight in, head first.
Yeah, no messing about.
I'm more of a sort of belly flopper, I think. So
I had noticed.
That's my normal intro to the podcast anyway. And also joining us...
Oh, yes.
It's Chris Dale.
Oh, look at him.
Now, I think after last week, he's actually had to reprogram the randomizer.
I see.
So it looks like he's got the back panel open. There's wires everywhere. There's a few sparks.
Yeah, he's got the sort of visor down on that little thing he's got on his head.
And is that a blowtorch? Goodness me, Chris, I'm not sure that's good for fine electronics. Oh,
yes.
Okay,
careful
well,
now.
Let's hope he manages to put the randomizer back together in time for this week's Randomizer, where he randomly picks, with the randomizer, a random episode from a random Gerry Anderson show and, talks us through it, really.
Yeah. That's it. That's why it's called the Randomizer, essentially.
Yes.
That's all you need to know, isn't it?
That's exactly it. So, Chris, good luck with your repairs. We wish you well. And do let us know if you need any extra, solder or wires or wire strippers or anything like that. That's things to strip the plastic off wire in case you were confused. Anyway, what else have we got?
I know that.
What else have we got this week in Pod 178?
It's the Gerry Anderson podcast, so we've got all sorts of stuff to do with Gerry Anderson.
That's a surprise.
That's the world-famous and legendary producer of such shows as Thunderbirds, Captain Scarlet, Terrorhawks, Space 1999, Space Precinct, New Captain Scarlet, Lavender Castle, you name it, he made it. And we're here to celebrate all things Gerry Anderson. For the next hour and a half or so, we've got some news from the Gerry Anderson universe coming up shortly. We've got some emails and some Facebook posts and some YouTube and Twitterings from our Podsterons. That's you, our lovely listeners.
Yeah.
And any moment now, we've got FAB Facts.
Hooray!
Glossing over that. We've also got a look back at a recent Space 1999 virtual convention. Tell us more, Jamie.
Yes, organised by Bob and Warren. There was a full 8 hours of interviews, all sorts of stuff with all sorts of guests from across the Space 1999 universe, including Muggins here. They must have been desperate.
Right. Yes.
But don't worry, it's not 8 hours. We've got about a 30-minute recap giving you all the highlights in case you missed it, with kind permission of the team from Destination Moonbase Alpha. And I believe they are aiming to run a convention at the end of next year. We will have more details for you later in the show.
Wonderful. Time to crack out the old Space 1999 tops.
Oh, yes, and make sure you bring your comlog.
Yes, absolutely. Great. All that and much more coming up in the next hour and a half. Stay exactly where you are.
Can you believe it's an hour and a half? Goodness me. I don't know
It is
how we do it. It really is almost exactly every single week.
Yeah.
Now, to get us warmed up, we like to do something that I like to call FAB Facts.
Oh, right.
Now, time for this week's FAB Facts.
Yes, it's your favourite Podsteron and mine, but not Richard James's. It's FAB Facts. If you're new to this segment or new to this podcast, well, welcome along. I've got a book of FAB Facts right
welcome
here.
To it.
All right, careful. Book of FAB Facts right here. That's me slapping the book. I'm going to flick through it at a random point. Richard James over there will say Fab. He might even call it, but hopefully not shout it. At which point I'll stop flicking. Hopefully I will land on a page which has a FAB Fact on it, and I will read you said FAB Fact in a way that hopefully makes it sound slightly fab. Richard, are you ready?
Yes, I'm looking forward to it.
I shall be doing my best. Anyway, here we go.
Fab!
Ooh. I almost ran out of thumb to flick with there.
Sorry about that.
Gosh. Okay.
You need to look into your thumb to flick ratio, don't you?
I really do.
That's the problem there.
It's because it's such a mighty tome, you see.
Yes,
very
it's a pretty
difficult.
mighty thumb.
Thank you very much. Yes, I've had the reviews in. Anyway, look, Richard, one of the hallmarks of Anderson shows is the very positive approach that Dad chose to take in his storytelling. And that's something, actually, which we're learning a lot more about in the process of the documentary. So more on that when we can see Gerry Anderson Life Uncharted next year.
Yeah.
There were some shows, however, that took a darker turn, like Captain Scarlet, UFO, and of course, most frighteningly of all, Torchy the Battery Boy. But by and large, Anderson shows avoided the pessimistic tone that was commonplace in science fiction at the time. One such Debbie Downer was a forgotten flick called ZPG, although it was probably ZPG, wasn't it?
ZPG?
But I'm going to go super anglicised and say ZPG for the purpose of this.
Okay.
So, what does ZPG stand for, you might ask?
Well, that was the question on the tip of my tongue.
Well, Richard, if you watched the film in theatres in 1972, you'd have to wait to the end to find out. But today we've got Google. So a quick Google search reveals that the answer is zero population growth.
Right, sounds thrilling.
As the title suggests, ZPG paints a rosy picture of the future where overpopulation has become so commonplace that to give birth is a capital crime.
It sounds a laugh a minute.
Don't laugh. One couple, played by the talented Oliver Reed and Geraldine Chaplin, decide to try and fight the system. And the results are... spoiler alert. Actually kind of okay.
Hey?
Our heroes lived happily ever after, but the film did not. Although remembered by a few enthusiasts and now us here on the FAB Facts, it mostly resides in obscurity.
Right.
However, there is one distinguishing factor about ZPG that merits its inclusion in this book of FAB Facts.
Yeah, I wondered when we get round to it.
Yes, we got there eventually. It is the first production to feature the talents of Derek Meddings after his departure from Century 21.
Oh.
That's right, the legendary designer of such vehicles as Thunderbird 2 didn't jump straight into James Bond, Superman and all that glitzy fare. Instead, his first job, independent of his old bosses, was this low-budget production.
Right.
To be fair, Derek does a great job creating some very cool miniatures in this sort of smoggy version of the future. A vehicle that conveys the deadly extermination chambers.
Right.
Bears a resemblance to the helijets of the Supermarionation era. There's even the voice of Shane Rimmer playing over a loudspeaker.
Ah, great.
Some sources credit Derek with the creation of some terrifying electronic babies that are handed out to pacify would-be parents. That's sinister, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit.
We can't be sure if Derek created these, but the miniatures and other effects have a clear Medding style and could have been outtakes from a much darker version of UFO.
A much darker version of UFO?
Yeah, even darker than dark, yeah.
Wow.
As for Derek, he would soon be hired to work on Live and Let Die, and the rest, as they say, is history. So, do you remember ZPG or ZPG? Do you know more about the Anderson connections of this obscure production? If so, please do email us. We'd love to hear from you. podcast@gerryanderson.com.
Wow. Can it be seen? Is it on YouTube, dare we ask?
Well, I don't know that. I haven't got all the answers, mate. I've just got a book here.
Right. Oh, I see. Yeah, fair enough. Well, I'll have a look then. I'll find out myself.
Yeah. Have a look. Have a look. See. I mean, it does. It sounds like a sort of cult plot of a Space Precinct episode to me.
Oh, yes, doesn't it? Yes, you're right. That also mixed with, I don't know if you remember, I think 1970s movie Logan's Run with, was it Simon McCorkindale? Why do I want to say that? Might have been.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe.
And Jenny Agutter is what most people remember it for.
Oh, yes.
Again, a pretty sort of dystopian idea in that I think once people hit 30 in this futuristic society, they're essentially euthanized as they're considered not to be of any further use.
Yeah. How cheery.
Isn't it?
Well, that's you and me done for.
Yes, I think you're right, yeah. But I don't think it featured any electronic babies.
Oh, what a shame.
Yeah.
Well, if there ain't no electronic babies, I'm not interested. So
no, but of course, Space Precinct did, as we know.
Yes. Oh, that Tarn baby.
The little Tarn baby, yes. That's right.
Yeah, I remember making my own.
Really?
Yeah, I had all the parts from the spare parts.
You're joking.
No, seriously. So in the model shop at the back of L&M stage, which is where that Tarn Baby was made, and Richard Gregory was making the proper animatronic version, because you remember it stuck its thumb in its mouth, and it did have little animatronics in its head.
Yes.
I had all the sort of the test casts, I suppose.
Yeah.
And glued it all together and had my own Tarn Baby for a while.
How sweet.
Yeah, it fell apart eventually. Because I think it was silicon rather than foam rubber to try and get the weight and the consistency of the skin. Anyway, we've gone off topic here.
We have a bit, yes.
Sort of. But let's leave the Tarn Babies aside. That was our ZPG fact. With a bit of connection to Gerry Anderson via Derek Meddings. So there we go. That is, rather clunkily, the end of this week's
Baby Fact!
I'm not sure it was strictly a baby fact, but I'll take that. Fine.
It makes it sound like a whole other podcast, doesn't it, to be honest?
It really does. Yeah, okay, never mind.
We have had some emails through this week.
Oh, thank goodness.
To podcast.
Back to sanity.
At GerryAnderson.com. Well, you say that. Scott Bye got in touch to say, hello, Jamie, Richard and Chris. You may have heard recently that actor William Shatner went into space as part of the Blue Origin team. Yes, I did hear something about that, Scott. He says, this gave me an idea. Would it be possible to send Matt Zimmerman, the voice of Alan Tracy, into space next? Perhaps have another Thunderbird 3, Thunderbird 5, or a 0X model sent up as well. Keep up the great work, FAB from Scott. Well, I suppose we could always ask, couldn't we?
I don't think you can volunteer as a third party to go to space. I think
no.
I think they have to be fairly actively involved. And I'm not sure that's in Matt's current plans.
Yeah. I don't think Matt. I don't know him at all. Really, I've met him a few times at various conventions. I'm not sure he'd be up for that. It's not really.
Not his
cup of tea.
Not his area.
No.
I mean, he does tell stories of effects shots on UFO which he didn't enjoy, and that was only falling 10 feet. So
right.
I think going that far up maybe wouldn't be for Mr. Zimmerman.
No, maybe not. But nice idea, Scott. Stephen Watson says, hi, Jamie, Richard and Chris. I have one of your excellent Thunderbird 2 hoodies. And it occurred to me that the perfect complement would be a set of 6 numbered matching green T-shirts, numbered on the rear, Pod 1, Pod 2, etc. On the front of one, the mole, another, an elevator car, another Thunderbird 4, etc. Well, says Stephen, I like the idea. Love the podcast, of course, and thanks to everyone not in front of a microphone who helped make it all run so beautifully. Here. Yeah, that's nice.
Absolutely, yes. Thanks, team. Brilliant work.
So I quite like that. Taking off the sweatshirt to reveal the pods inside. That's quite a nice idea.
It is. I've now got a vision for some pod-related T-shirts. So if they come to being, Stephen, we'll have to send you one.
Absolutely. Yes, you heard it here first. Dom Riley says, greetings, Jamie, Richard and Chris. Hope you're all keeping well in these bizarre times. I've been muddling along. The podcast has been really helping me the past 18 months, keeping me sane through some difficult times recently. Justin and Lindsay's interview was very informative. Nice to hear Thomas the Tank's lesser well-known cousin Tugs get a mention. Secretly, I prefer the latter, says Dom. Gary Martin's interview was really entertaining, and I hadn't realised he'd voiced so much. I've recently been working my way through lesser-known Anderson productions, including Lavender Castle, and for Christmas I've asked for The Protectors on DVD, and although I've watched it before, Space Precinct. No doubt that will bring a smile to a certain man who starred in said show, not that he mentions it much.
Yeah, Lou Hirsch never mentions it, does he?
No, he never talks about it. He really doesn't. Anywho, he says, I've waffled enough. Take care and keep up the great work, guys. Cheers from Dom Riley.
Thank you very much, Dom.
Yeah, and how nice to hear that we've sort of helped you through some difficult times as well. I think we've all needed, haven't we, over the last, year and a half, some familiar voices and some friends to turn to once a week. And it's been our pleasure. Philip Probert says, Dear Jamie and Richard, fans will no doubt be aware that a certain horrific TV channel in the UK, wonder what that could be, has just started rescreening episodes of UFO. Huzzah! He says, however, for each advert break, there's a 2-second clip of the Interceptor pilots leaping down the tubes into their craft. Take a look at the astronaut in the middle, and you'll see that his jumpsuit splits on the side, revealing a white vest underneath.
Oops.
Once seen, you can't stop seeing it. You can blame this observation on my wife, Eunice. Keep up the good work. Loving the podcasts. Oh, and bonus points, says Philip, if you can tell which episode the clip comes from. Hey, there's a challenge.
Well, I can't tell you that.
No.
But I'm sure other Podsterons can. And thanks, Eunice, for ruining that bit for everyone forever.
That's right.
Cheers.
Thank you so much. A couple more. Terry Marshall says, hi, just watched your FAB Facts on Crossplot, and that reminded me that Century 21 are credited for the effects in the 1971 film Up Pompeii. If I remember correctly, there's a volcano eruption at the end of the movie. Wow.
Gosh, I didn't know that either.
Like that.
Turns out that I know virtually nothing, would you believe?
Well, we know that. Are you surprised by that? Because we've known that for years.
Well, I finally realised it myself, yeah.
And finally, now here's something that crops up every now and then. David Munn says, unsure if already mentioned, but it's popped up a couple of times recently that Shane Ritchie has been seen in some vintage toy and collectible stores in the West Midlands while he's performing theatre. He's been on the lookout for Star Wars and Gerry Anderson merch. Maybe one for the podcast?
Oh, I'd love to get Shane. We have messaged a few times, exchanged messages.
Yes.
He is another very, very busy man. But I
he's so busy.
Did discover some archive interview footage of him recently. Some great video stuff from a long time ago. So that may make an appearance in due course too.
Great. All for now, but do keep those lovely emails coming in. We do love to hear from you. podcast@gerryanderson.com, and I'll read them out next time.
Hurrah! Well, thank you. Okay. Would you like some Gerry Anderson news?
Oh, is it time for the news?
Well, I mean, you're getting it whether you like it or not. So are you ready to accept the news?
Yes, I'm ready to receive the news.
Okay, here it comes. Yep, here we go with some lovely Gerry Anderson newsy news.
Why are you joining in these days?
Because I'm feeling more enthused about the news. Does that make sense? Probably not.
Yeah,
okay.
I like it.
Anyway, let's get on with this, and we'll start this week with this exciting ditty. So let's start with Century 21 Tech Talk. Clever old AC and dear John Colshaw have been at it again. Cloudbase is out now on the Gerry Anderson YouTube channel, youtube.com/Gerry Anderson TV. Jeff Tracy walks you through all the technical specifications and fancy features of Spectrum's flagship ship. That thing, Cloudbase is pretty cool. Also to note that we are, at the time of recording the news, 200 subscribers away from 50,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel, which is amazing.
Yes.
Thank you to all of you who subscribed so far. If you haven't subscribed, could I kindly ask that you might be one of those last 200 to take us to 50,000? That would be great. You can go to youtube.com/Gerry Anderson TV. We hope to see that number hit 50k this week. If you're a Captain Scarlet fan and a Barry Gray fanatic, then the Captain Scarlet and the Mysterons original soundtrack on CD and vinyl is available for pre-order from the Gerry Anderson store, shop.gerryanderson.com, featuring obviously the themes, incidentals, all sorts of great treats from across the series. Just all that lovely Barry Gray music that you know and love, including the spooky Mysterons theme and the use of, I guess it was on Martineau and a theremin, was it? Mm-hmm. I should know better, but there you go. Hear for yourself. I've got a little insight for you here. There will be a special announcement this coming Thursday.
Oh, yeah?
I can't say anything else, but you'll definitely want to keep an eye out for it. And it will relate to something happening later this month. So, yeah, I wish I could say more. I probably breached confidentiality by saying even that. But yes, something is coming this Thursday about something else later in the month. And you're going to love it. If you are going to Birmingham Comic Con this coming Saturday and Sunday, the 13th and 14th of November, we're going to be there too.
Exciting.
Do pop in and see the Gerry Anderson store, the Anderson Entertainment stand. We are near the entrance to Hall 12. We will tweet our location and post it on socials, and we will have a very special, exciting giveaway. If you come to our storefront and ask very nicely, we will give you something rather special that you can wear. I'll say no more, but I'm pretty excited. I'm probably going to be wearing mine all weekend. On the Saturday at 12:45 on the main stage, I will be live with Nick Briggs and Chris Thompson talking about Space 1999 and beyond. I think emphasis on the beyond, actually. There's a lot of stuff in Space 1999. We're going to give you some previews of the interiors of the tech manual. Nick's going to tell you what's coming up in the world of Space 1999 audio drama. We'll chat generally about where we think things could go, but we will have some teasers, some trailers, some other info just to share with that crowd on the main stage. So do pop along. 12:45, Saturday the 13th of November in Birmingham. I'm afraid I think tickets are sold out for the day, but if you are there, then do pop along. We would love to see you, and make sure to come along and get your free wearable gift at the Gerry Anderson store. Space 1999 fans, I've got some good and slightly delayed good news, I guess. Let's go with the delayed one first. The Space 1999 Eagle Moss Lab Eagle has been hit by these horrible shipping problems from all over the world that everyone's suffering from, but this one's, I think, stuck on the water coming over from China. But we believe it will be arriving at the end of November or early December, so if you've pre-ordered that, then it will be with you as soon as we can get it to you, but just one of those things which is continually annoying but out of our control. If you haven't got your Eagle Booster version yet, then I strongly recommend you get that. They are selling out, and we have our last few available. Just search Eagle Booster on the Gerry Anderson store. But the good news, you've asked, we've heard you, more Space 1999 cosplay uniform tops are on the way, this time the red and purple sleeves.
That looks great, looks fantastic.
We hope to launch these for pre-order this week, at the end of this week, and they will be in the UK and shipping to you by the end of the month. And hopefully no shipping problems from China, because these are being made closer to home. So red and purple sleeve cosplay tops are coming very, very soon, since so many of you have been asking. I hope you'll wear them with pride before Christmas. And finally, the UFO comic anthology is still available to pre-order, but the pre-order offer is now closed. If you ordered before 11:59 p.m. on the Sunday just gone, you'll get your free shadow patch as part of your shipment. If you order from now, it's just the book, but the book is still available for pre-order and should be starting to ship at the very end of this month or the very, very early December, and we'll do our utmost to get it to you again in time for Christmas.
Lovely.
Goodness me, what a lot of stuff. There's more to come. I've also done recently an exclusive interview with the director of the upcoming Gerry Anderson documentary, Gerry Anderson, A Life Uncharted. His name is Benjamin Field, although I will call him Ben, and that will be coming in the next few weeks, giving you some insights into the stuff that we've learned, how we're tackling the documentary, and why it's such an important and fascinating story. I can't wait for you to see it, to hear more about it.
Great.
That's all coming up very soon. But for now, that's the end of this week's Gerry Anderson News.
That was the news, infused about the news.
Lovely.
Well, we're all infused about the Gerry Anderson news, aren't we?
Well, most weeks, yeah, I think so.
Most weeks.
Almost every week. Yes, that.
Great. Now, you're listening to the Gerry Anderson podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to us, please. I know I say it every week. Oh, come on. It's the only way that you can be sure of hearing every new pod the moment it drops on whichever platform you're listening to us on. Subscribe, follow, befriend, like, get to know, stalk, whatever it is.
Gosh.
And you'll get to hear every episode as it appears.
Quite the range there.
Yeah. Also, of course, you can leave us a lovely review. There's no rule against that. There is no law that says you mustn't leave a review for the Gerry Anderson podcast, so do it. Leave us a nice review and a rating. We might even read it out. And also, why not share the link with your friends, and they'll get to hear us too. Now, if you're on Facebook, and I know a lot of people aren't, but quite a few are these days, you can join in the fun on our Podsteron's Facebook group. Just go to facebook.com/groups/Podsterons. Join in the fun. For example, Joe Smithy Smith has posted, this is something I've only noticed as an adult, but I'll pitch the idea anyway. Ready for this?
I'm standing by.
He says, I love Captain Scarlet and the Mysterons, and it's my favourite show in the Anderson universe. So the opening episode, The Mysterons, sets a little trend in a couple of episodes. And if I may, says Joe, the original threat from the Mysterons was, we will assassinate your world president.
Yes. We will assassinate your world president.
There it is.
Like that.
Halfway through the episode, when Captain Black is watching Scarlet on the car view, he changes the plan to, we must have the world president alive.
We must have the world president alive.
It's just like being there. And I don't think that this is the first time in the show that this has happened. He says, can the Mysterons change their mind?
Well, I should think so. Surely.
Yeah. Well, I rather like this because it stirred up a bit of controversy on the Facebook group. AC, of course, weighed in.
Of course he did.
Well, he says at the end of the day, the Mysterons don't really care one way or the other. It's just a game to them. If they want to change the rules partway through just to confuse the pitiful human minds, it's no big deal to them. They could crush Earth in a heartbeat, and there's literally nothing Spectrum could do about it. They're just toying with humanity for their own amusement and curiosity. They never actually lose. They just occasionally allow the humans to think they've won. Well,
Hear, hear.
he's been giving it some thought, hasn't he?
Oh, just a bit.
Yeah, you might have heard that Facebook as a company is changing its name to Meta, which has struck a chord with Trevor Knight, who posted time to launch the Meta probe.
Whee!
Yes. And talking of AC, did you know he's been giving away stuff?
What's he been giving away?
Well, Robert Cassidy said, I've received this one-of-a-kind custom Captain Blue today, courtesy of the legend that is Andrew Clements. He even signed it for me. Thanks, AC. Emily Woodthorpe posted, I first saw Thunderbirds as a toddler, and now 20-plus years later, I have my first piece of merch, courtesy of AC.
Goodness
Thank
me,
you so
what
much.
a busy boy.
Well, I know. Steve Beresford says, Jamie, Richard, could you settle a mini argument? Now, he says-
Potentially.
Yeah, according to Wiki, Gerry directed all the episodes of Twizzle. However, some of us think that he only directed the surviving episode. Could you shed some light on this?
Well.
No. I knew that was coming. Right.
I'm very sorry, I can't tell you anything there. I mean, I suspect he probably did direct it because he was coming fresh off the back of You've Never Seen This. Arthur was very much on the cameras, so it would kind of make sense. They were a small team.
Yeah,
I could be wrong, and I'm happy to be corrected.
Sure.
But for now, I do not know, Earthman.
All right, okay. Thank you very much.
Sorry.
Hannah posted, I'd like to share something that I found connected to Gerry Anderson. While I was on holiday in America back in 2017, we were visiting the fantastic USS Intrepid and Space Museum in New York. And I came across the story of the Mercury 7, and I suddenly thought to myself, wait a minute. I looked closely at a trophy awarded to the astronauts, and I spotted some very familiar names. Alan Shepard, Virgil Grissom,
Yes.
John Glenn. There they are.
Yes, absolutely.
The inspiration, of course, for the Tracy brothers from Thunderbirds.
Yep.
Good spot.
Nice spot.
And finally, Ethan Powell shared his first post in the group, so welcome to the Podsterons,
Welcome,
Ethan. He says,
Ethan.
hello. Yeah, my name's Ethan, and this is my first post. A short while ago, I created this cosplay, and he posted some fantastic pictures based on new Captain Scarlet, something that was a bucket list dream of mine for years. It was somewhat finished around the time of Captain Scarlet Day back in July. What are the odds that a Scarlet-themed cosplay contest will be running? I entered my outfit and finished in first place, and I was delivered some fantastic prizes, courtesy of the Gerry Anderson store. I'm posting this, he says, as a belated thank you to the team behind the contest who selected me as a winner. Hopefully, everyone else in the group will appreciate the suit, as well as some photoshops done in the style of the original Scarlet credits art. Thank you to everybody at
nice.
SIG from Ethan. Did you see the pictures, Jamie? They're fantastic.
I have not yet, but I'm going to go and look immediately once this recording is complete.
Exactly. Very good. So all for now, but of course do remember you can post your thoughts and comments, merch and your cosplays over on the Podsteron group on Facebook, and you never know, I might read them out next time.
Ooh, there's a threat.
Yes, it is. Isn't
Hopefully you will. Lovely. Yes, thank you all for posting and sharing your thoughts and pictures. We really do appreciate them. Richard James, I've got a little bit of a treat for you.
it? Have you? Oh, come on,
Well-
then, let's have a look.
Instead of one guest this week,
Oh,
we have several, and not interviewed by me.
oh, that is a treat.
So
Now that is a treat.
thank you. Now, when I say we have several, it is sort of in a manner of speaking, because this recording is a selection of excerpts from the Destination Moonbase Alpha virtual convention that was hosted on Facebook Live on the 12th of September 2021.
Oh,
The convention itself took place over 8 hours.
crikey.
It featured 23 guests, and it raised over £1,500 for an Alzheimer's charity. So that's brilliant.
Brilliant.
Now, we don't
Nice.
have time to play 8 hours all for you all in one go. In fact,
do we
we're
not?
No, because we wouldn't
No.
fit in this 90-minute podcast, surprisingly.
Oh, I see.
But if you're interested, please do contact the convention organisers at destinationmoonbasealpha.com. They can provide you with tickets for the 2022 in-person convention scheduled for next September, and also give you access to the 8-hour version of this recording. So
great.
the physical one is sure to be a grand event. I'm hoping to be there. I hope you will be too. But
Yeah, okay. That's an invitation, is it?
yes, you're my +1. Okay, good. Okay, so here we go. Let's have about half an hour roundup of some highlights from Destination Moonbase Alpha.
On the 12th of September 2021, a group of dedicated Space 1999 enthusiasts gathered for a convention. But unlike previous conventions, This gathering was entirely online. The 2021 Destination Moonbase Alpha Virtual Con hosted 23 guests and lasted for an 8-hour marathon session. Here are just a few of the highlights from that event. For information on replays of the virtual convention or tickets to the in-person event coming next September, please visit destinationmoonbasealpha.com. Suzanne Peterson was background talent on Space 1999 and also had the honor of being the stand-in for leading lady Barbara Bain. Suzanne reflects on the enduring appeal of Space 1999 and discovering fan conventions for the first time.
It's amazing. That's all I can say. Never thought, when we were making that series, never in a million years I thought that we'd be on computers and, talking to people at different parts of the world. It is unbelievable. It's fascinating to me. I lived in the States for quite a while. I lived in Connecticut, and I couldn't believe that you were having conventions then, and otherwise I would have been able to get more involved with it. It was only because, as I've said many times before, it was my son Justin that said about these conventions, and my first one was in where was it? Peterborough. That was my first one, and it was really nice to see like Nick and Prentice and Anton, and it was great. It was lovely. And so it's so nice to be involved with the conventions and meeting the fans, because they seem to know more than I do.
And you've maintained friendships over the years with some of the Space 1999 cast as well, haven't you? Yes,
I am. I'm quite friendly with them. Prentice, Anton, and obviously Suzanne. We were really good friends, Suzanne Roquette and myself. So that was really sad when she passed away. So it was sort of, it was lovely. It was really good.
Writer and Year One story consultant Christopher Penfold addressed what makes Space 1999 different from that other famous series of the time, Star Trek. With commentary and questions from Christopher's co-authors David Hirsch and Robert Wood about their upcoming book.
I've been asked about the kind of central difference between Star Trek and Space 1999 many times, and I think Johnny Byrne put it at its best when he said that the difference was that in Star Trek, the Enterprise was always under the control of its commander. And in Space 1999, the moon was at the behest of whatever gravitational pull the universe had in store for it. So the Enterprise was boldly going. The Alpha people were on the winds of fortune.
And there was this initial concept for the show about how they were going to be the invaders as opposed to the saviors of the galaxy, as it were.
I think that kind of evolved as the show progressed. The sense, virologists are all around us at the moment, but the sense that humanity was some kind of virus that would infect innocent areas of the universe. I think that was a theme which wasn't necessarily there at the outset, but which came into the show as we progressed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the new book that David and I have written with Christopher Penfold's tremendous assistance and input is called To Everything That Might Have Been, The Lost Universe of Space 1999. And that kind of gives you a clue as to the contents.
I think it was one of Gerry's strengths, actually, well, Gerry and Sylvia, that they were open to suggestions from people like Martin and Barbara and other writers who were contributing to the show. There wasn't really, from the outset, although there was a Bible, there wasn't really a template for how this show was going to be. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's kind of admired now for not being the kind of formulaic science fiction show that you've come to know and like or not like, as the case may be.
Italian actor Gianni Garko overcame the language and technological barriers to share his memories of filming Dragon's Domain, in which he played Tony Cellini.
But it was a wonderful experience. Work on the set in Pinewood was very well organized. And there was an attitude of a great respect toward the actors, which the community of actors reciprocated. I remember that in a window of the studio's restaurant reserved for the artists, many Oscar awards were exhibited, among which I saw the one received by Laurence Olivier for Hamlet. I don't know if it was authentic or a copy. However, it surprised me, because I remember that the Oscar of Italian directors were not exhibited in Cinecittà, but on the fireplace of their private homes. So yes, in the course of TV recording, Martin Landau very often told me, don't worry during that we were shooting before the take, don't worry, Gianni, keep your time. This kindness put me perfectly at ease. Nick Tate, on his own initiative, recorded my lines with the correct pronunciation. And this... you asked me if Martin Landau told that story. What
yes,
about it?
That's right, yes. Yeah, if Martin Landau told a story that he helped you rehearsing your lines, and if you remember working with him.
No, there was no rehearse for Space 99. Before starting the TV shoot, the director asked the actors seated around a large table. There was whiskey and sandwich, everything. And director asked to everyone if they had problems with their lines. Some proposed changes, others made observations, which the director discussed, and finally, for the great part, accepted. I, given my English, remained in silent, satisfied with my text.
A fan favorite from year 2, Sam Dastor played Dr. Ed Spencer in Dorzak, Devil's Planet, and the Immunity Syndrome.
Well, the thing that I most proudly remember is, I think it was on the Immunity Syndrome, I had this line about something about A to Z, and I said A to Z. And Barbara Bain looked very shocked and said, Z? What's Z? And I said, well, it's A to Z. And I said, oh. And then she looked at me suspiciously and she said, are you Canadian or American? So I said, well, no, I'm British, actually. Said, you're kidding. And in a way, that was a wonderful backhanded compliment, because this was the 3rd episode I'd done, and she'd been fooled into thinking that I was either American or Canadian by origin. I can't think why, but she was very shocked that I said A to Z. So that's a memory that I remember still very much. Well, they asked my agent, they said, would he be interested? We're thinking of doing a 3rd series. Would he be interested? And I said, well, yes, of course. And we never heard anything more. Yeah. And then a few weeks later, my agent rang them up and they said, no, we're not doing a 3rd series now. Right. So that was the end of that.
Model maker Martin Bauer dialed in to share how he came to work for Brian Johnson on Space 1999, not just as a builder, but also as a designer.
At the beginning, Brian said to me, because of the distance problem, and because there was no computers then, there was no way I could send him the picture other than in an envelope.
Right.
But it was quicker to get in the car.
Yeah.
Right? So after I'd done the Alpha Child ship and got it there on time, and the thing he said that he liked about my models was the fact that they came already weathered and looking like they could be used on the screen. And that's what happened. I ended up quite a lot of the time being allowed to work on models he trusted me to design as long as they fitted in with a script. And it became a regular occurrence about every 2 to 3 weeks, sometimes less, sometimes more. And he'd underline in highlighter pen the models that he really liked, the drawings that he really liked. And of course, he would then tell me how long I had to make them in, which was frankly rather short. I wasn't used to working quite that fast, so I would go round shops pitching bits of, buying plastic kits that I could, use to decorate models, and that was the beginning of nearly 3 years.
Yasuko Nagazumi played Yasko in Space 1999 Year 2, but it wasn't her first collaboration with Gerry Anderson, or her first role opposite Tony Anholt.
So I just want to ask you, Yasko, in regards to your involvement in Space 1999, before you actually became involved in that series, you had worked with Gerry Anderson in a series called The Protectors.
Protectors, yeah, that was with the Robert Vaughn was a lead, and I was a kind of a girl Friday that the house, that to keep the house, and also I was a protector for him because I was supposed to be a karate expert, and then Tony was in the same series as well. So when I started working in the Space 1999, Tony was I was very close to Tony, and then his desk on the set was very close to my desk. That's why there were lots of scenes in Space 1999 with me and Tony in the same scene. I was never a fan of the space series, so I was so ignorant about everything. But the thing is, Tony has been so kind to me, and also Gerry and Sylvia has been so wonderful, and they were so patient with me. And when I'm thinking about the Space 1999, I was very lucky that I survived because I was so ignorant. Anything to do with a spaceship and space thing, I had no idea. But Gerry and Sylvia had been so kind, and somebody like Tony was so kind to me, and I was nothing but so grateful to all the people and the stuff, and also Keith Wilson. So I really had a wonderful time during the Space 1999.
Anton Phillips was Dr. Bob Mathias in Space 1999 Year 1. Coming from a mostly theatrical background, Anton recalled walking onto the set of the big-budget sci-fi TV show for the first time.
And as I said, coming onto that set for the first time in a major studio, I hadn't really got very much film or television experience. So, and then to arrive on set, and they're those two, along with Barry Morse, who had been watching in The Fugitive years before that. It was really very impressive. You feel like a fan. I wanted to run up and ask for their autograph. And and it was just really nice working with them because they were not starstruck. They were just ordinary people who had a job to do, which they did very well, and welcomed you. They didn't ever try to upstage anyone or impose their superiority in terms of fame and fortune on anyone else. They allowed everybody to have their moment. So it was a great pleasure working with them. With all those three, not just those two.
Nick Tate, most famous for his role as Eagle pilot Alan Carter, has a story or two to tell. And here's an excerpt from one about how he was cast in Space 1999.
The Italian actor that was coming to play the head of the flight crews. He was going to be the chief astronaut flying the Eagle. He was a very good-looking Italian actor. I cannot tell you his name because I don't believe I ever knew it, but I've seen footage of him. And Martin didn't want him to play the role. I mean, in the beginning, nobody knew why he didn't come. He didn't come. And 1 week before the show was due to start, panic stations all around because this lead actor who was coming to play Alphonse Catani didn't show up, and they said he's not coming. So they were auditioning lots of English actors for that role. And then Lee Katzin, the director, came out, put his arm around my shoulder. He said, "Nick, can you do an Italian accent?" And I said, "I can do anything, Italian." So I started talking with my Italian accent, like this. And I went, no, a real Italian accent, So anyway, I went in and I met Sylvia and Gerry and everybody, and I did my Italian greengrocer for them, and they were not impressed. And I was walking out the door, and I said, I've still got the role that I die in, right? Yeah. Yes, don't worry about that dying. And Lee raced after me, grabbed me, and he said, can you do something else? I said, like what? And he said, turned to them, he said, "Look, this is Moonbase Alpha. They're from all over the world. He could be, look at him. He looks German, right? Blonde hair, German." And so he said, "You do German?" I said, "Well, of course I do German, We will ask the questions." This is my terrible German. I didn't get that either. So I'm walking out the door, and he said, "Let him play it Australian." And Sylvia said, No, we've already got Cockneys, and everybody gets them mixed up. The Australian accent, the Cockney accent, almost identical. And I said, "Oh, that's bullshit, Sylvia." I said, "Australian accent's nothing like the English Cockney accent." She said, "Yes, it is, darling. You don't understand." I said, "I sure do. Every English actor they send to Australia in the big movies to play an Australian is a Cockney, and it doesn't sound anything like Australian." Well, it sounds a bit like it, but, the Cockney is deferential. He talks, touches the forelock, opens the door for the governor. He's, in those days, they were always playing the little guy with the cloth cap on, whereas an Australian is aggressive. He doesn't count out a no man, and he calls a spade a spade. And he said, "That's it. See, that's the guy. That's the guy we want playing Alan Catani, not Alphonse Catani, Alan Carter." And he made it up on the spot. And they went, "Oh, don't know about that." And I went home, and the phone rang at 5:00 at night. And my agent, Marina Martin, now Marina, said, "You've got the role. What did you do?" So I told her the story, same story I just told you. And that's how I got Alan Carter.
Series lead Barbara Bain fielded this question from the audience about how guest cast members were brought onto the program.
Do you remember how Richard Johnson was cast as Lee Russell, and did you have input on the decision?
No, I had no input on that, as I recall. In fact, all the actors who were cast were just splendid. So I had no input on that. Everybody, we had such a wonderful pool being in London of all the wonderful stage actors just available there. There's a marvelous pool of people like Maggie Leighton coming on, and Johnson, etc. And even what's his name, who is so magnificently scary. He played he was tall. Had to be very, very tall.
No guy that they put on the
box. Yeah, so he would be even taller.
Yeah, Christopher Lee.
Yes.
Christopher Lee?
He was just darling. Every person I met in that group of actors was just wonderful.
Yeah.
So I didn't need to have any input. They were doing that very well.
Sadly, these are all the clips we have time for today. For more, be sure to visit destinationmoonbasealpha.com or look up the convention on Facebook. Special thanks to Warren Friedrich, Robert Wood, and the many, many others who were a part of this event. Until next time, here's a toast to everything that might have been and to everything that was. See you in 2022.
Wow.
Oh, a lovely selection. So thank you, Ben Page, lovely producer Ben of this podcast, who edited that together. But also, of course, thanks to Warren Friedrich, Robert Wood, and Roy Belquist, and the many others who worked hard to make that event possible. Please go to destinationmoonbasealpha.com, and you will find out more about the event, the digital one, and the in-person event, which will follow in September next year. That's 2022. Of course, that is if the moon doesn't blast out of orbit first.
Oh, I mean, that would put a real kibosh on it, wouldn't it? Imagine that. Imagine the irony, though.
I know, breakaway day. Oh, it's gone. Oh, well, since we're here.
Yeah.
To everything that might have been, to everything that was, including the moon.
Now, so that'll be in the States, will it, I'm assuming?
No, they are planning for it to be in the UK, we believe, the vicinity of London Heathrow, we hope.
Are they?
Yeah, more on that very soon, of course.
Ah, how exciting. Now, I'm going to head on over to Twitter and YouTube to pick up some more comments from our lovely listeners. Podsteron's Jeff Owen said, I've just heard the first part of the interview with Gary Martin on the Gerry Anderson podcast. Yes, he says, I know I'm a few weeks behind, but I'm loving hearing his stories. I can't wait till I get to parts 2 and 3. Didn't he also do a Red Dwarf, says Jeff?
I think he did, yeah.
Did he? Ah.
Yeah,
nice.
What were those alien creatures in Red Dwarf, the sort of early famous
know that
ones?
Well, you see.
Gelf? Was he a Gelf,
really?
maybe?
Was he? Yeah.
I'm not sure. But I'm pretty sure he's been on most things.
Yes, he has. And over on YouTube, well, people have been commenting, of course, beneath the latest Tech Talk, which features the Angel Interceptor from Captain Scarlet. Jago Hazard posted, I feel like you could do a great spin-off series about the Angels. Yes.
Well, like the comic series back in the 60s.
Right. Yeah, that'd work.
Yeah. So maybe, who knows? Exciting ideas.
Yes. Minicle posted, I definitely prefer the classic Angels and their aircraft to the CGI ones. I like how they got more of a role in the Thaden novels as well, says Minicle. Now, I've got a long one here, but I've got to read it all out because it's quite nice. Hal9001 says, good evening from Japan. Thanks to all involved for another great Andiverse video, this time featuring my joint favourite vehicle, piece of hardware of any of Gerry's various series, the superb Angel Interceptor. When I was a child back in the UK, my late father was sometimes away at sea for extended periods of time. However, when he returned, he often brought back some really cool and previously unknown in the UK models and toys. One of these, bought, I believe, it was a long time ago, in Hong Kong, was a very cool Angel Interceptor. This featured a removable pilot and chair unit. The combined piece concerned could be inserted and removed via the bottom or floor of the cockpit. It had a detachable nose wheel leg and a popular at the time small friction motor underneath the main body, which could be used to move the plane unguided in one direction. That's it. Sadly, he says, myself and the superb toy concerned ultimately ended up taking quite different journeys in life. And yes, I do wish that I still had it, in case you're wondering. However, looking back now with a big smile, I can genuinely say that Angel Interceptor was my favourite item of Andiverse-related merchandise back in my younger days. Thank you, everyone, for the excellent work that you put into these videos and for your sterling efforts to keep the flame of Gerry Anderson's unique imagination burning for the benefit of global fans. And that was from, HAL 9001. Isn't that a lovely memory?
That is lovely, yeah. It's amazing how something so relatively small in the scheme of things can hold such emotional, nostalgic power.
That's right, and stays with you for so long, all your life. It's incredible, isn't it? I bet you can still, Hal, whatever your name is, I bet you can still feel it in your hands, and maybe even, as Lee Sullivan does, remember the smell as well.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Get toy sniffing, Podsteron.
That's right. Get toy sniffing and
within
send
reason.
in your
own.
Your aroma-based
yes.
emails, and we'll read them out.
We look forward to reading those and sniffing them. Anyway, I can see that Chris has just inserted the final screw in the back of the randomizer.
Yeah. Oh, it looks like new, doesn't it? It's giving it quite a spruce.
Yeah. It must have sprayed some Mr. Sheen on it or something. It's got a lovely shine on it. Anyway, so Chris must now be ready to perform his randomizer duty as the randomizer and give us a random Gerry Anderson episode and say all the things he thinks about it, which are always witty, incisive, insightful, and generally jolly. So,
always.
Shall we hand over to the randomizer?
Oh, yes.
Okay, over to you, Chris.
Oh, hello everyone! Sorry, no time for a big introduction today, as this Space Ranger toy has already made today's selection, and it's...
To infinity!
That's right.
And beyond!
Well, no, we're not actually going beyond. In the story, they go quite a long way beyond, obviously, as the title implies, but those of us just listening to the story, we're not actually going, all that far. We're just sort of sitting where we are and listening to it,
You are a sad, strange little man, and you have my pity. Farewell.
Oh, bye then. Well, here's The Day After Tomorrow. Well, this is a lovely surprise to have on the Randomiser. The Day After Tomorrow, or Into Infinity, one-off pilot film from 1975. And we've been doing episodes from full series for so long that I'd quite forgotten, actually, that there were things in the Randomiser, one-offs like this, and The Investigator, and You've Never Seen This, and Blue Skies Ahead, and Space Police. They're all in there. And here we are with probably my favourite of the unmade pilots, I think.
Delta, the jump-off point for humanity's first momentous journey to the stars.
Let's let Ed explain the setup first.
Ship Altares, the first of its kind to harness the limitless power of the photon. Particles of light which can boost the ship to 186,000 miles per second, the speed of light. This could create the effects predicted by Einstein's theory of relativity. Effects that could shrink the very fabric of space, distort time, and perhaps alter the structure of the universe as we understand it. Effects which no man has yet experienced, and you will share it. The crew are arriving from Earth. They will be the first to fulfill man's dream to break out into deep space, to leave the world we call Earth, a tiny planet circling a small, cool star we call the Sun. One of some 200 billion suns in our galaxy, the Milky Way, which we call the stars. And our galaxy, just one among billions strewn throughout the infinity of space, the universe. A universe not only stranger than we imagine, but stranger than we can imagine.
I love that line. And there's our title, The Day After Tomorrow. I always assume that The Day After Tomorrow is the title of what would have been the series, and then Into Infinity is the episode title. I let Ed's narration play out there just to set this up for people who've never seen it, because I imagine there are quite a lot of people out there who have never seen this.
Their mission, they will journey to Alpha Centauri.
There's a UN space shuttle docking there. I like the design of that craft. I like all of the vehicles in this special, a lot of them designed by Martin Bauer.
Time dilation effect could create immense human problems for the crew.
And another gorgeous matte painting. Very similar, actually, to the one we see in Mission of the Darians. I suspect it's probably the same painting.
Avoid the frightening dilemma of
just resprayed.
Returning to find their children as old, if not older, than they are. They will now travel as complete family units. Well, with one exception.
No, don't make me sit and watch this bit. You have to say goodbye to the dog. I hate it.
You'll take care of her, won't you, sir?
If literally anything in life involves you saying goodbye to your dog and going far away and never seeing them again, trust me, that thing is not worth it. You don't go away from your doggy. And then, of course, we get the sad close-up on Doggie's face. Oh dear. Yeah, but going back to that matte painting, it's amazing that I'm assuming that's one of Keith Wilson's. Would go to so much trouble for one shot, and in the case of the Mission of the Darians painting, it was used several times throughout the episode. That painting was just used for that one shot. I imagine it must be a complete respray of the Darians painting, because otherwise there's what else were they going to do with it? But now our brave crew members are boarding the lightship Altares. We have Nick Tate as Captain Harry Masters. We have Joanna Dunham and Brian Blessed as Tom and Anna Bowen. We have Harry's daughter Jane Masters, played by Catherine Levy, and we have Bowen's son Thingy, played by Martin Lev. I nearly got them all. Never mind.
All set?
All set. Right. Let's go.
Yeah, this was produced between the two series of Space 1999 as a one-off television special. You would have thought that,
guidance system.
Having watched him in action through the first series of Space 1999, you wouldn't then think, you know what we should cast Nick Tate as?
Atmosphere.
As spaceship captain. Because he always lands his spaceships just perfectly.
Gravity.
But it is great to see him as a lead in this. He is absolutely leading man material. And he carries the special along with the rest of the cast. It's a really nice cast, actually, for this special.
Time to lift off. 320 seconds.
Yeah, Brian Blessed. We have Brian Blessed on the Randomiser. This is his second of 3 Anderson appearances. There he is, putting some things into some other things.
Codes activated.
And check radiation screens.
And of course, it's obvious if you've never seen this special before, but you're a fan of Space 1999, all you need to do is look at it for a few seconds and then you realise, oh, right, so much of this is either reused from 1999 or it would be used again in the second series of 1999. And obviously that includes most of the cast, including this guy.
Last time, good luck and goodbye.
Don Fellows, who was the newsreader at the end of Breakaway.
May not be around when you youngsters return. Old age could have got me or something.
You, Jim, you're indestructible.
Don't be too sure.
There's this other guy in red who's ahead of me on that. Yeah, he's wearing a costume that looks a bit like Koenig. Koenig's
But you can see how you look from the cameras and
dark sleeve thing.
Well, good luck until we meet again.
Goodbye, Jim.
Bye,
Jim.
Bye, Jim. So yeah, for those who don't know, this was a television special that Gerry Anderson was asked to produce by George Heinemann of NBC. They were putting together a series of shows for children, educational shows and specials, and he needed someone to, for some reason he decided that explaining Einstein's theory of relativity was a good place to start. So he got he asked Gerry to create a one-off. Gerry, being Gerry, obviously came at this thinking, well, maybe we could create a series on the side here. So that's why you get a special that's heavy on the information about Einstein and so on, but also heavy on the action and adventure. And considering there's only 45 minutes-ish to play with here, I think it's an amazing balance of both. A lot of the other Anderson pilots that never went anywhere, you can see why, Space Police wasn't quite there, and nobody in their right mind was ever going to pick up The Investigator. But this is balancing everything just right. It's a really nice special. And there they go, past the moon,
course confirmed,
which is still in Earth orbit in this reality.
317.
Of course, the lightship Altares looks a lot like the Metaprobe and the Ultraprobe that we'd seen in Space 1999. It does. This feels, although it clearly isn't happening in the same universe because, moon, it does feel like the same universe in terms of tone and view.
Stand by.
Regarding sort of humanity's place on Earth and in space. But here we go. We're all set for our first blast of the old the engines. Velocity, we're now at 50,000 miles per second, still increasing. That's making Brian Blessed's beard go all bushy.
You're looking good, Altares. Acceleration effect is as predicted. You're well into the red spectrum of the Doppler shift.
Oh, there's that. Yeah, the actors have now all got fans blowing on their faces.
G-force stress. But if you can look at your screens, you'll see that the illusion of the ship crabbing is as predicted by Einstein's theory. We're losing you. We're losing link up. Goodbye, Altares.
Oh, yeah, this was something they used. I don't think they used this fan effect in the first series of Space 1999. I'm probably wrong. But they definitely used it in the second season. Extreme close-ups of fans blowing on actors' faces in the Metamorph, I think it was. But yeah, this is the photon drive pushing the Altares into light speed and away from the Earth's solar system. And I like with this as well that although it's clearly so focused around Einstein and his theory and this and that, I don't know about anyone else, I don't feel particularly educated coming away from this. I think more when I watch this, I think, I had a really good time with this, rather than I've learnt something about Einstein and his theory and the man himself.
0.5 degree error.
But a lot of characters in this one almost seem to sort of worship Einstein as, that thing happened? Yes, just like Einstein predicted. He was clever. I'm getting ahead of myself here, I feel. We'll get to all this.
Looks like we're on our way.
We've a long way to go. And some lovely music from Derek Wadsworth and Steve Coe to carry us through. I really like the music in there.
There's a big blue planet coming up to us now. It's Pluto and it isn't really blue. We're travelling so fast that the light waves get squashed up to the short end of the spectrum. so it only looks blue. As it recedes, you'll see it turn red. It's called the Doppler shift. Navigators, you think you know it all? Just enough to get us where we're going.
And this is something I find unlikelily successful. That's not a word, but again, it's another word I've invented.
Goodbye, Pluto. Goodbye, solar system.
Oh, that's a nice moment. Yeah, we have not one, but 2 child actors in this thing. And by and large, they're both brilliant. I know some people have criticised Martin Lev's character for... He's a bit of a know-all, he's a bit of a smug little guy, but that's what he's meant to be, that's what he's written as, so I don't fault him on his performance at all. And Catherine Levy is great as well, and it's nice that
7 degrees port.
Yeah, all 5 of them are so gung-ho, let's do this thing, but she is a bit more sort of, well, you know, there's a reluctance there at times.
Beautiful.
As well as that wonder of what's actually happening.
David.
Oh, David, that's his name. Yeah, she's looking out the window and enjoying it, and he's there with his clipboard and his pencil and his head down making notes and observations.
What I did? You haven't answered my question. Yes, I do want to know what's out there in space. Just imagine. There's something like 1 million Earth-type planets in the Milky Way alone.
And considering that sci-fi shows and child actors, I think we got very lucky with these 2, even though it was just for the one-off.
30 years. It's a long time, isn't it?
They could both be insufferable, and they're really not. So, yeah, top marks to both of them for their performance here. Unfortunately, Martin Lev is no longer with us. I can't remember what happened to him, but as I recall, it wasn't anything good, unfortunately. I don't think he had a very long life, which is a shame. Ah, there we go. We found Alpha Centauri on our charts. And it does look pretty. Everything in this special looks pretty. Again, it's a very strong influence on the visual look of the second season of Space 1999. In terms of how that season portrays space, there's suddenly lots of bright yellows and bright pinks and bright blues, and it looks kind of garish, but...
The crew of the Alteres...
I think it also... it works.
Profound wonder they feel at seeing what no man has ever seen before.
I'm feeling a sense of profound wonder.
Work has first priority.
What are we going to do?
Satellites.
Ah.
These will transmit invaluable data, which, in years to come, will help future travelers to enter and explore the Alpha Centauri solar system. They are also aware that the scientific work they now do could bring immeasurable benefits to their own planet, Earth. They come from a world where natural resources have been squandered, where pollution and the haphazard destruction of the environment has put the future of humanity into jeopardy.
Nice little
of the Alteres
nod to life back on Earth in the world of the day after tomorrow. Not really that much different from our own.
Into the galaxy.
Unfortunately.
The Einstein's time dilation effect has created a widening gap between the relative ages of the crew and the people of Earth. Meanwhile,
that was something I never understood, the time dilation thing. I mean, I don't really walk away from this feeling that I've been educated at all.
Well, we've done it.
Maybe it's my own very short attention span, but I've never understood the time dilation thing. Please, 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 don't leave any comments about that below this episode, because I'm never going to understand it. I think it's just one of those mental blocks I'm always going to have.
The signal is traveling at the speed of light and was transmitted from Earth 100 days after your departure. Since your velocity was slightly less than 186,000 miles per second, it was computed to catch up with you on completion of your work program in the vicinity of Alpha Centauri. The time has now come for you to make a heart-rending decision.
Tell us about the dog.
Return to Earth or to move deeper into space to your second objective. Whatever your decision is, all the nations on Earth will remember your achievements with pride and affection.
Unless you die, in which case...
End of Delta transmission.
You know. He could have brought the dog along for that. That's clearly all Jane's thinking about.
Well, which is it to be? Now, you all know the rules.
I'm in charge.
One dissenting voice. And we return.
So, are we going forward or are we going back?
Forward.
Forward? Okay.
I agree.
Count me in, Skipper. Jane.
Yes, let's go on.
Okay. We go on.
So, they're heading forward into the unknown, and all I can think about is poor old Springer the dog. We've got a real Jurassic Bark ending for that poor animal on our hands here, I think. Oh.
Gravitational field of the nearest stars.
Anyway, Brian Blessed is doing science things.
Altera is now under automatic computer guidance.
So hang on. We could be in for some gravitational turbulence.
So going back to what I was saying earlier about Gerry having an eye on this as a pilot for a potential series, I've always found that certainly it's a consistent goal within his pattern of production through this period, but I don't think it's the ship. I don't think, and I said this in my Day After Tomorrow primer video actually. The idea of this one ship alone in the void.
The computer's happy?
I don't know if it could sustain a full series, and I noticed going back to look at that a while ago, lots of people in the comments saying, well, what about Lost in Space? What about Lost in Space? Admittedly, I have very little experience of Lost in Space.
Just as Einstein predicted.
Oh, there he is, Einstein. He's so clever.
All this before we'd even learn to fly, let alone travel through space. Anna? Was his theory of relativity his life work?
Oh no, it's just a small part of it. He spent the last 20 years of his life in America, working on an even more fantastic project, the unified field theory. But he died before he could complete it.
Oh, dear. Yeah, every Lost in Space I've ever seen, well, I saw the movie, the, was it 1998 movie?
Back up!
Obviously that doesn't count. But no, every time I've seen Lost in Space, the original television series, they always seem to be on a planet. And then either a Viking or a giant carrot turns up or something ridiculous. So, yeah, I apologise to anyone who saw the Day After Tomorrow primer and heard me say that and thought, Lost in Space. If there are lots of episodes of Lost in Space where they are in space, then fine.
Backup system.
It's just that every time I've seen the show briefly, they've always been on a planet. Anyway,
The system's gone.
we're not talking about that.
Skipper, cut the drive.
We're talking about this. The photon drive has cut in.
You just jammed! Jane, activate failsafe system!
And, yeah, we've seen Alan Carter wrestling with controls and levers in the Eagle to no effect. And now he's doing the same here with the Altaires. Oh no, we have a failsafe, and it worked. Everyone's happy with that. Is it going to explode? No, it's flickering. The music is telling us this is bad. And it's gone. Oh, see, if that was an Eagle, it would have exploded. So we're back to fiddling with the lever.
There's no way. I can't cut the drive. Just keep on accelerating.
But it's pretty.
We can't just keep on accelerating. I mean, nothing can travel faster than light. Can it, Dad?
That's what the theory says. Forget the theory. Strap in.
That's a good tagline for this special, actually. At least Gerry's approach to it. Forget the theory. Strap in. You're going to learn some stuff, but you're going to have some adventure along the way. And this is a very nice sequence. Everyone getting into their seats, but of course, poor old Anna, as her bunk is at the absolute back of the ship, right in front of the engines. So everyone else has made it to their chairs in time, but she hasn't quite made it. And then we get this rather impressive stunt. She's thrown across the room. And her husband's noticed. No. You don't want to have Brian Blessed flying across the cabin. Oh, they're creeping up on the light speed. The special effects are whizzing past faster and faster. Everyone's got a fan on their face. Yes. Oh, if you ever wanted to see out Brian Blessed's nostrils, then have we got a special for you. Thank goodness this isn't in HD. In fact, everyone's getting good nostril close-ups here. Oh, exciting stuff. And again, with going back to the visuals of this, I'm not sure to what extent they're trying to ape 2001 just a little bit, which obviously was a huge influence on the first season of Space 1999. Not so much here. There's a sort of... I think the music kind of pushes a sort of disco vibe. We are definitely in the 70s here. But there's a sequence coming up near the end that I think might be a bit 2001 inspired. Anyway, did we make it?
Hi.
Yeah, we made it.
The photon stopped.
Failsafe cut back in. Put the drive in a reverse thrust. Are you all right?
Yeah. How's Mother?
Mother? Yeah, he couldn't call... He doesn't seem like the kind of kid who would call her mum.
That's easy.
But I do like, actually, that we have 2 family units here as part of this crew.
You all right?
And I know we've had, like, you know, Atlanta and Sam Shaw and I suppose the Zeros in Fireball XL5, but this is a nice and rare, very rare for an Anderson show example with the Bowens of a complete family unit, father, mother and child, working together as professionals. And that's what something else I really like about this special is...
No power at all now.
That all of these characters feel...
Acceleration must have burnt out some of the drive units.
Feel like equal professionals, even the children.
Space-time coordinates are gone.
Which they didn't need to do. You could have had just the adults knowing things and the kids come along going, whoa, whoopee, wow, cool.
We've been unconscious, or how far we've traveled.
So it's quite admirable, again, that they would paint the children as trained experts in their fields. And again, it doesn't come across as...
Computer can't recognize any of the stars out there.
You know, pandering.
It'd mean we're off course by billions of miles.
Oh.
That's right.
Oh, no.
What about Space Beacon Delta? Couldn't we get a fix on that?
Or Navigation Beacon Delta.
We'll try. But finding that beacon... It's like hunting for a needle in a billion haystacks. I've got to face it, Skipper, we're lost.
Lost in space. It'll never work.
Yeah, and we're going to stay lost without that photon drive. Anne, what's the heat level like inside the chamber?
I'll check it. The drive's shut down, so there's no radiation hazard.
And in addition to reused props and main cast member from Space 1999, Joanna Dunham here playing Anna was in Missing Link playing Varna, and of course Brian Blessed was in Death's Other Dominion playing Dr. Roland.
Heat insulation's weakened.
So it's nice that we sort of not only reward Nick Tate for his service through the first series, we get these 2 back as well for recognition for their guest work. And we're being pulled...
Right, we go in now.
Towards a star.
Well, how long do you think you'll survive?
Oh, I don't know.
Well, if you wear the heat suit, about 15 minutes, no more.
Right, we go in and relay. I go first. Tom, you and Anna get all the dope you can on that rate of drift, will you?
Right, Skip.
All the dope.
You know my suit.
Harry, I mean it, 15 minutes maximum.
Now we've got to go in and fix the photon drive, because of course we've come to a stop near this star that's pulling us towards it. And again, this is something that happens a lot in this special. Considering it's only 1 episode, they basically cover any deadly interstellar phenomena that have ever been recorded.
We don't want to lose our captain, do we?
One after another after another. And again, with this family stuff, it does make the stakes feel much higher. You know, it's not just a question of John Koenig is in trouble and Helena's getting a bit weepy. This is again a bit more personal. And I kind of get that they included the children as a nod to this being an educational special, but the way they use them is very commendable. And there's that wonderful huge metal door from I assume this is the same one from Force of Life that Zorif forces his way into at the end, and we see it a few times in the 2nd season of the show as well. And this is the part of the special I feel maybe takes a bit too long, and maybe there isn't quite enough going on, this repair of the engines, because it's just Nick Tate in a room with a tube and a few props to futz around with. But what's this? The thing is going wee woo wee woo.
Let me see.
Comparing it with our own Earth sun, its radius is 10,000 times larger. Its mass is only twice as large, and its density, now this is the incredible thing, its density is less than 1/1,000,000th of our own.
Anna, these figures speak for themselves. It's increased surface temperature, abnormal expansion rate. The sun, it's just about had it. Anna, we better set up a full sensor analysis to watch that sun right away.
So, it doesn't look good for anyone or anything. And there was a lot of technical jargon in that sequence. I did trim some of it, but to throw all that in the direction of children is quite something. I do certainly admire this special for not talking down to children, for not only expecting them to be interested in Einstein and all his theories and such, but to
Dying star.
to present them with this content and not really make any sort of concessions to the fact that it's aimed at a child audience.
But it could stay as it is for 100 years.
I don't know to what extent, though, that a child audience would appreciate this. And I mean that with all respect to the production. I'm not sure what age group this is aimed at, really. I've got to say, like, 10 and up, maybe. I don't know. If you were watching The Day After Tomorrow as a kid back in the 70s when this was first shown, how did you respond to this? I would be genuinely interested, because this is, you know, a rarity, a one-off Anderson pilot that actually got shown. Would you have been on board for more of these? Did you think, what is this? It's clearly an Anderson thing, but I don't recognise any of the characters. I would love to know more about the response this got at the time.
Yes, we're smack in the middle.
Because I hope it was well received.
You tell him to stay in there.
It deserves to be.
Risks.
Jane, we're all at risk.
But now it's confirmed.
Skipper. Now listen, we've got to get the ship away from here. That red sun, it's about to blow.
How much time?
Minutes, Skipper, just minutes. Can you do it?
Yeah.
Anyway, Harry is now, having fiddled with the top bit of the engines, he's moved on to the bottom of the engines. Jane is not taking this well, and outside, the red sun continues to get redder.
Dad, you must come out!
Jane.
Take it easy, honey. We're almost there.
And if I don't make it, Brian Blessed will raise you as his own.
When we were in training...
I know, they told us something dangerous. I just didn't think it could happen. Not to us.
Not to the man who played Alan Carter. Things always go so well on his spaceships.
Harry, come out. I'll take over.
Nearly finished.
Skipper, you're beyond the limit.
Yeah. You think I don't know that?
Come on. This is, Oh, as soon as I say come on, the sun starts to go nova. Well, yeah, I was going to say this sequence was starting to drag a bit, but,
You better get in your positions.
yes, this is where it starts to build up to something more exciting. Harry's on his way out of the engine room. The music is back. Finally, we've been without music for a while. That's it. Photon drive is active again, so now we can get out of here. That's it. Harry is staggering out of the engine room.
No, Jack. Stay with us.
Of course, he's going to be very hot. Only Brian Blessed can touch him because he has special gloves on.
We fixed it, son. We fixed it.
We've got to get this ship out of here. Jane, get going.
Oh, and Anna's got
Let go. Get this ship moving.
Helena's medical kit.
I'm going to go with her. You all right, Skipper? Yeah.
And a really nice action scene here. Joanna Dunham having a bit of trouble getting into the co-pilot seat there. And again, going back to the way they're using the child actors in this show, we now have a child character. She's in charge of piloting the spaceship. She's the pilot of this spaceship as they make their daring escape away from the exploding star. And again, the effects are looking lovely here. Altares is spinning out of control, but at the last moment, the engines kick in, and we start to move away. So, that's another disaster behind us. They've only been in space, half an hour at this point? And space is an absolute death trap for these people. You know, it would have taken the Moonbase Alpha crew. They would have spent a whole episode dealing with a supernova. This lot, we'll 15 minutes tops.
Now, where do you think you're going?
But again, it has to be like that to get all these scientific and space phenomena that we want in our story
Never better.
onto the screen.
How are we doing?
No damage, and we're clear.
Oh, good. Where's Jane?
Piloting.
Doing a very good job. And this is a nice reunion as well.
Oh, good girl.
There's a nice
Dad, I was so frightened.
genuine feeling of family among these two units that make up the Altares crew. Is this a good thing happening now?
Could be just a pulsar.
It's not the meta signal, is it? Don't go there.
No, it's Delta Beacon.
Quick, David, feed it into the computer before we lose it.
Delta.
The signal was transmitted 15 years after we left Earth. That's right. Skipper, that means that we can now work out our position relative to Earth.
It's the first real break we've had, Tom. Give us our course. We're going home.
Yay! Everyone's very happy about this. Oh no. Anna isn't. And needless to say, typical man, it takes Brian quite a while to notice that she's staring forlornly out the window.
What is it, sweetheart?
15 years, Tom. Well, my parents, your father,
Jane's dog.
the old, even dead by now.
Anna, we're going home.
Yes, Tom. We're going home.
Because the alternative is staying out here and eating each other. I don't know what your supply situation is like, but I can't imagine it's...
Course steady.
Well, I don't know if Earth was ever expecting to have them back or not. We haven't seen anybody eating or drinking through this thing.
Skipper, we're off course. Alter to 4.2.
Oh, not again.
Now, hold it, Skipper. We're coming under intense gravitational pull. Skipper, bear 3 degrees starboard and increase power. More power.
Can't break it.
See, this is Brian Blessed in that magic period when he was still Brian Blessed actor before he became Brian Blessed, professional shouty man. So it's rare to see him saying things like "we're off course" rather than "we're off course." Again, this is just a year or so before he was ranting at the top of his voice in Blake 7. Here, he's very restrained.
We've been pulled into a black hole.
Set tangential course bearing 30 degrees port.
And yet it works. He's perfect for this role. It's great to see him as one of the leads in an Anderson thing. There it is, a black hole, or a black sun. They don't call it black sun here, oddly.
I know so little about black holes, except that they're stars that have collapsed in on themselves. They not only bend light, they actually swallow it.
It doesn't say much for your chances.
It's no good. We can't break free.
Harry, my instruments are all haywire, but I think that hole is rotating.
What does that mean?
Oh.
It means we may have a chance. Some say that if you pass through a rotating black hole, you end up in a new universe.
Oh.
A new dimension, even.
I don't know to what extent that's true. Given the track record in this special so far,
there's no way back.
I suspect certainly that there were people theorising that at the time this was made.
Then we're crushed out of existence.
Well, you've only got the one special, so if you get crushed, well, you weren't going to do any more anyway, and if you don't...
There's nothing more we can do. To escape, we'd have to travel faster than light. Now, you heard what Anna said. Nobody knows what it's like to travel through a black hole. So let's not panic. Just help each other. All we can. And hope that we make it.
Yeah, Oh, Nick Tate's so good. Taking the hands of each of the children, and everyone's putting their arms around each other. Oh, we're in. We're going in. And here we go. It's all going to get a bit trippy. This is our attempt to do something a bit artsy. And a lot of what we see here, I've always felt all of this could have been avoided if any of them had had their seatbelts on. Instead, as we plunge into the black hole and all these colours and things, everyone starts throwing themselves around the ship, and we have these little moments of characters trying to get to each other and not being able to because they're not really there, or they're running backwards or whatever. It's visually very interesting. The music also helps a lot. I mean, there's no denying it is incredibly silly. And yet, it's thoroughly in keeping with the trippiness of, the established trippiness of going through a black hole as established in Space 1999. Yeah, everyone's running in slow motion or being played backwards, pulling silly faces. It's fun stuff, but within the context of these people being on a spaceship, I'm not entirely sure what a lot of this is meant to represent. Like, here's Brian Blessed screaming at an overhead projector.
I was told the engineer would come and fix it on Thursday.
And then he just sort of gives up and wanders off. I don't know what direction they would have given the actors for this, if any. I don't know what was in the script. So it's a very nice looking sequence, but a lot of what we're seeing the actors doing is just a bit silly, but great fun though. I do have a lot of fun actually imagining what the director was saying to these actors to get them to pull some of these faces. Or now imagine, Brian, you're running backwards and you see your wife, but she's not really there, but then you're not really there and she was there all along. Anyway, looks like it was a rotating black hole, because we've come out the other side, and it's even prettier on this side than it was on the side we were just on. Lots of pink. Lots of neon colours everywhere. It looks very pretty, and as I said, this special, I think, really sets the tone, the visual tone of a lot of the space shots for the second series of 1999.
Where are we?
Indeed, some of the effects, the space shots, were reused. I think the remnants of the supernova turn up in 1999 a couple of times.
It's a new world.
Yeah, we've turned up near a planet.
Looks like we get to visit a planet after all, David.
Yeah, we've no idea what's there. It could be anything, but we're ending this on a happy note.
They have survived their journey through the black hole and crossed the frontiers of human knowledge.
Ed says everything's going to be okay.
They know it is impossible to return to Earth and to their own space and time.
I'm not entirely sure that this is a particularly optimistic ending, considering it's an alien planet. There's only 5 of them. They can't get home.
Final word.
But Ed says it's okay, and I trust Ed. And you should too.
New universe, a new hope. Only time will tell.
This is Kent Brockman. Well, that was the day after tomorrow, and as I said, out of all the unmade Anderson pilots and bits and pieces that were meant for a series but never went anywhere, this is by far my favourite. I really wish there had been more from this. I know there are the books. I've never read any of the books. But I love the way this handles a lot of the space concepts, just the right level of engagement for a child audience. I love all of the actors and all of the characters. I love the way it doesn't talk down to children. I think it's absolutely brilliant, and if you don't have it, go and watch it.
Well,
off the beaten track a bit there.
Well, as a pilot, it's nice to have. Have we had any pilots before? I think that might be our first pilot, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, I'm sure Chris would have said at the beginning of that, but I have already forgotten because I was so enthralled by Nick Tate's stressful fixing of the engine.
Oh yes,
and all that sort of stuff. Now, it's tense. I was fine with The Day After Tomorrow. I do love it. It's very sweet.
Yeah.
But the educational bent that it was given, or they tried to give it, does feel a bit forced at times. And it's in particular, as we saw, or as we heard, that E equals MC squared over the final shot is a bit forced. How do we make this educational? Let's put a scientific equation in there.
Yes,
so Richard,
that's a good idea.
My question to you is,
yes.
What scientific equation would you put over the closing credits of this podcast?
Right, I've got to tell you now, I've got to think about it.
Think about it. I'll tell you what as we get into the closing credits, you can announce it.
Ah, great.
Brilliant.
Look forward to it.
Okay, I'm looking forward to that too. So Chris will be back next week with a different episode of a Gerry Anderson show because that's how it works. One time only for each.
Yes, that's it. Then gone forever.
So Richard James, is there anything else you would like to add now that the randomizer is done?
I've read out some emails, I've read out some tweets and Facebook posts, I've even gone over to our YouTube channel and read out some posts. I think that's all bases covered.
I think you've covered everything there. Nicely done.
Yeah,
it's time for us to take a rest. I know you're going to pop to the shops and grab yourself a little
little something,
little treat. Yeah, quite right
maybe.
too. I might do the same.
Okay.
So Podsteron, thank you for listening. We do love being in your ears every week, so thank you for allowing us access to them. That sounds weird, doesn't it?
It does a bit.
But they're used to it now. Please do subscribe, rate, review, and all that sort of stuff. Share with a friend and ask us any questions or send your thoughts to podcast@gerryanderson.com or do it on Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
I'm Jamie Anderson. He's Richard N. James. Him over there, still polishing his randomizer, is Chris Dalek.
Yes.
And of course, you can use the hashtag Gerry Anderson Podcast. And
that's it. Yeah.
Using those things, we will find your message and Richard might read it down next time.
Might do.
Oh, but that's the end of Pod 178. So let's go. Let's leave them to it. They've got a busy week ahead. So have a good one.
F equals MA.
Stage 1 complete.
Let's go.
Spectrum is green.
And could you explain why you chose F equals MA?
Well, because it's quite simple, isn't it? Really, I mean, it's, Also, I remember it from my chemistry lessons. Do you remember it from chemistry?
I remember that because they always used to give us mnemonics to remember it, like fat pig's apple, force equals pressure times. Maybe that was acceleration. Maybe the mass and acceleration is the same, is interchangeable to some degree.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no idea.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
But,
well, you see, you learned, at least they can say, if they've listened this far, they've learned something today.
They've learnt that we don't know that many scientific formulas.
No. And even those that we do know, we don't actually know what they mean.
No. But it's a nice try.
It was a nice try, exactly. And I do have the sense that whoever idea it was to put E equals MC squared at the end of Into Infinity, Day After Tomorrow, also had no idea really what bearing it had on the rest of the story.
No. I mean, they did talk about getting to the speed of light and the Doppler shift and all that sort of stuff, but it did feel a bit like, how can we really ram this home? I know.
Yes.
We leave an air of mystery, whereas it just really left confusion and irritation.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, much like this podcast.
That's why we're here. So mission accomplished.
So well.
Mission accomplished. Anyway, right, you're going to go and buy yourself a sherbet.
Yes, thank you very much.
I'm going to do similarly, and I'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Have a smashing evening. Bye.
You have been listening to the Gerry Anderson Podcast. Wasn't it fun?
You have been listening to an Anderson Entertainment production.